Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Oh, just stop. Oh, please stop with the talk about how good this Orange team was through the first 2/3 of the season. Yeah, everybody said, oh, they're a Final Four team. Oh, they're going to the national title. What have I seen the last third of the season? A team that doesn't have any mental toughness. A team that lacks cohesion. Boy, that was on full display Saturday against Georgetown. I'm not going to even talk about the nice win we had against DePaul a few days earlier. What happened with this team on Saturday? I tell you what, this looked like a team that looked like they were just running for the bus. A team that just didn't care. A team that just seemed to go into desperation mode, even if they fell just a few points behind. What happened? Did this team not be ready, be prepared for what was their final regular season Big East game? This is Georgetown, for God's sake. I mean, this is a team that helped build up the Big East into what it was. And I mean was. Because the Big East pretty much is practically no more. This is Georgetown, the rivalry that made the Big East. If we couldn't be up for this, how can we be up for anything? Let's take a look at some of the ugly details, shall we? First, this team lacks mental toughness right when they get behind by only a few points. It seems as though they fall behind by a few points this last third of the season, they automatically go into desperation mode. I mean, hey, you can't say, oh, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? That's a sign of a team that lacks mental toughness, lacks cohesion. And also, Brandon Trish, senior, supposedly one of the leaders of this Orange basketball team. Where's he been the last 3 games? And an orgy? He's looked absolutely terrible, especially from the field. And also, what was with Boeheim when he called that timeout when Syracuse had fallen behind by 18 points? You know, Boeheim, you could have called for going to the man-to-man or some version of the zone to help counter what Georgetown was doing. Instead, you stay with a 2-3 zone, and of course, Syracuse can't get any closer to Georgetown. And what was with this? The camera's on you and you're like... And also, Trish is sitting right beside you the last part of the game and you're not even scolding him. And also, terrible shooting. Georgetown was almost 50% from behind the arc. And what are we? A paltry 1 for 11. Boy, this team looks like they are not ready. They are not focused. And we're going right into the part of the season when we should be mentally tough, when we should be cohesive, when we should be focused. Instead, we're 5-7 the last 12 games. And we got the Big East coming up this week. We play tomorrow against the winner of either Seton Hall or South Florida. And of course, this slide has cost us any chance of being a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. We'll still be a seed, but where? And what area of the tournament are we going to be? What number? Boy, there's some people calling for Jim Boeheim's head. That kind of a performance by Syracuse could cost a coach his job. Thing is, Boeheim, I think, has earned the right to retire whenever he wants to. But any more performances like that, Boeheim, people are going to start calling for your head. Boy, what is going on here? It's Big East tournament time and NCAA tournament time. This shouldn't be a time for a run-for-the-bus performance. That was the worst point total in Boeheim's coaching history. The last time Syracuse scored that few points was over 50 years ago in a victory of all things against Kent State. And our last worst point performance in 63 years in a loss. And we lost to Duquesne. We gotta be better, Syracuse. This is outrageous. That performance was one of the worst I'd seen in a long time. Please, Boeheim, Syracuse, do your job for God's sake! And while I'm on the subject of God and while I'm trying to calm down, let's talk about what's going on there in the Vatican City. The Conclave has started to elect the successor for Pope Benedict. And I mean, there's a lot of favorites emerging. Even the two big cardinals from the United States, Cardinal Dolan from New York City and Cardinal O'Malley from Boston, have emerged as maybe prohibitive favorites. But of course, I still think that one who's the Archbishop of Milan, or maybe the one from Ghana, or maybe one from Latin America, might be the next pope. We'll see who becomes the next leader of the Catholic Church. Because, I mean, the Catholic Church is going through some changes, a lot of changes. And hopefully it can be one to help better Catholicism here in the United States. As I am a Catholic. I was born a Catholic, raised a Catholic. I'll be Catholic till I die. I hope we get someone who could lead this church into a better future. But I gotta wonder, the way they signal that a new pope has been elected is if white smoke comes from that stove through the roof of the Sistine Chapel on that chimney. But you gotta wonder, you gotta watch out for the smoke, 'cause you don't want this. All right, let's see the ballots. Here they are. Oh, smoke. I don't think they like hearing coughing coming from the Sistine Chapel. You better check the flue on that stove, boys. Don't want that chimney to be blocked up. And last but not least, I want to talk about what Senator Rand Paul did there about last week for that appointment for Brennan. He engaged in an old-fashioned filibuster. Yeah, he talked for 13 consecutive hours. 13 consecutive hours talking. How could he have taken a breath? I mean, he's probably, yeah, I don't want Brennan, and I mean, he probably somewhere along the line went, yeah, yeah, talking for 13 straight hours. Hey, compared to some of those senators through the years, I'm a pretty taciturn guy. Of course, who would want to talk for 13 straight hours? Maybe my grandmother. Maybe that's why I nicknamed her Turbo Tongue. I don't know, but they say what filibusters have often worked. Of course, when Jimmy Stewart did one in the movies, he dropped from exhaustion. I don't know if that's going to be a big thing going forward, but talking for 13 straight hours, the only reason why he stopped was he had to take a piss. Nice thing. And that's how I close this session of Kenny's Two Pennies. And I hope nobody calls the police for all my yelling. But the way Syracuse played, I think it'd be a good idea. 'Cause as Jimmy Stewart says as I sign off, you know, I am not lit yet. I'm Kenny's Two Pennies, and